The air in the courtroom of Judy Justice was thick with the weight of unresolved history and the quiet tension of two people who had once shared a life but now shared only a legal dispute. It was a room where truth was the only currency and where every word spoken was weighed against the scales of common sense and integrity. Officer Kevin stood tall, his presence a stabilizing force as he prepared to announce the start of the proceedings. "All rise," Kevin announced with a voice that commanded immediate respect. The door opened, and Judge Judy Justice walked to her bench with the purposeful stride of someone who had seen every human emotion and every kind of conflict imaginable. She took her seat and looked down at the paperwork before her sharp eyes scanning the details of case number 3015. "Have a seat, please," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Hello, Judge. How are you, Kevin?" Kevin replied with professional courtesy, and the case of Perez versus Bowen officially began. The judge turned her attention to the plaintiff, Stephanie Perez, and the defendant, Matthew Bowen. The story began not in a courtroom, but at a humble truck stop where the paths of these two individuals first crossed. "It is interesting, Miss Perez," the judge began, noting the details of their first meeting. "You met Mr. Bowen at a truck stop. Tell me when that was and how that happened." Stephanie explained that it had been in January of the previous year, 2022. They both worked there, and what started as a professional acquaintance soon blossomed into something more personal. They began dating, and within a short time, Stephanie moved into his home. She clarified that she was staying there primarily to help with his children, though she still maintained her own residence elsewhere. For 2 months, she was there constantly, 5 to 7 days a week, stepping into a role that required immense patience and care. The judge probed deeper into the nature of their relationship. "You were living there for 2 months," she observed. "I assume you were not just staying there to take care of his kids, but that the two of you were a couple during that period." At the heart of the matter was a period of time when Mr. Bowen had full-time physical custody of his 2 children. He had been their primary caregiver since 2020, when they were merely infants. He held court-ordered legal custody, a responsibility he took very seriously. However, while they were living together, the biological mother of the children reappeared, seeking to regain custody. This legal challenge created an urgent need for an attorney. Stephanie claimed that she had loaned Matthew $2,000 to cover his legal fees during this stressful time. Eventually, their relationship reached a breaking point. It was not an amicable parting. They both agreed. It was a difficult end to a complicated chapter. While Stephanie wanted her $2,000 back, Matthew had filed a counterclaim that painted a very different picture of their final days together. Matthew alleged that Stephanie, fueled by anger and a desire for revenge, had sent a video of a workplace altercation to his employer, which led to his termination. Furthermore, he claimed she had aligned herself with the mothers of his children. Sharing the video and photographs of him would be begun to complicate his custody battles. The judge listened as Matthew described the chaos of that time. He spoke of ex parte orders and the temporary loss of his children in January, followed by their return in February when one of the mothers realized she could not manage the responsibility alone. It was a period of great emotional upheaval, a tough time that the judge described as actually outrageous. The focus then shifted back to the financial dispute. Matthew admitted that Stephanie had given him $2,000. He recounted the circumstances of June 2022. He was searching for an attorney, and Stephanie had originally offered him $7,000 for a high-profile lawyer her mother had used. Matthew, wanting to be more frugal, decided on a local attorney in Lancaster whose fee was $3,500. Matthew went to the attorney's office alone, but the judge noted that Stephanie was at home, caring for his children without any payment, while still paying the mortgage on her own house. When Matthew returned with a quote of $3,500, a conversation took place about how to bridge the gap between what he had and what the lawyer required. Stephanie remembered the details clearly. She explained that Matthew needed $3,500. She told him she could help with $2,000 from her savings, even though she was off work at the time. Her condition was simple. She would need him to help her with her own bills, like her mortgage, electricity, and gas, when they became due. She wired the money bank to bank, from her account to his, as they both used the same institution. However, When her bills arrived, Matthew claimed he had no money to help her. The judge looked for evidence of a clear contract. While there was no formal written agreement, the judge asked to see the text messages on Stephanie's phone. In those messages, Matthew acknowledged the debt. He did not deny owing her. Instead, he apologized and promised to pay her back when he had the funds. The judge looked at Matthew. "It seems from reading these text messages that you acknowledge that you owe her money," she said. "You say you have a big bill coming in. You are sorry, and you will try to get some to her. What did you owe her money for?" Matthew hesitated, but eventually admitted the truth. He owed her for the lawyer fee. The amount was $2,000. He had only managed to pay back about $100, leaving a balance of $1,900. With the debt established, the judge turned to the counterclaim regarding the video and the loss of Matthew's job. Matthew described an incident at the truck stop where he worked as a cashier. He had spotted a person attempting to steal a $400 party speaker and other electronics. When his co-workers failed to intervene, Matthew took it upon himself to stop the thief. He swatted the speaker out of the man's hand, leading to a physical confrontation. Matthew claimed the man had an 8-inch knife and that he was merely defending himself and the store's property. The judge expressed a sense of admiration for his actions, suggesting that in a different world, he might have been Employee of the Month for protecting the store. However, she needed proof of two things: that Stephanie had sent the video to his employer, and that the video was the reason he was fired. Matthew admitted that he had no proof. His witness had failed to appear, and he could not definitively link Stephanie to the distribution of the video. He also had no proof that she had given the video to the mothers of his children. Without evidence, the judge had no choice but to dismiss the counterclaim. The final judgment was clear. Matthew Bowen owed Stephanie Perez $1,900. The court was adjourned, and the two parties left the room, their legal battle concluded, but the lessons of their experience lingering in the air. In the aftermath, Stephanie reflected on the importance of having proof for everything. She was a single mother who worked hard for her money and could not afford to give away without the expectation of being repaid. Matthew, for his part, felt the sting of a relationship that had lost its solid connection. The judge, speaking later about the case, mused on the modern phenomenon of everyone reaching for their phones to record a fight rather than stepping in to help. She spoke about the need for consequences in society, much like the rules parents set for their children. She found it difficult to understand a world where an employee could be fired for doing the right thing and protecting property. It was a case that highlighted the complexities of human relationships, the necessity of clear communication, and the enduring value of integrity. As the lights in the courtroom dimmed, the story of $2,000 and a truck stop video became a part of the long history of justice sought and found.